What's going on, everybody? Kalipus Tech here, coming back at you with another video. This is camera tips and tricks for the Motorola Moto G Power 2022. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for this phone to help you get more familiar with the camera. Now, before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to learn more about this phone, be sure to check out my full review and tips and tricks videos for it on the channel as well. And for your convenience, I have included the link to this phone in the video description, so be sure to check out that link for the latest info on pricing and availability, because this is always changing. But with all that out of the way, let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is a couple different shortcuts to get to the camera app itself. Now, opening the actual camera app is pretty easy. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to it. But if you're doing something else on your phone, or if you want to quickly capture something in the moment, there are faster ways to do it. So the first way to do this is by double tapping the power key. Now, by default, this actually doesn't open the camera. As you can see right now, it actually opens the assistant, but luckily we can change this. So what we're going to do is go to Settings, go to System, and from here, you're going to want to go to Gestures. And up at the top where it says double press power key, we're going to want to tap here. And by default, as you can see, it is going to launch the assistant, but you can change it to launch camera. And now if we're on a different app and we double tap the power key, it's going to open the camera instead. This is a really convenient way to open your camera. And like I said before, if you're doing anything at all on your phone where you're not on the home screen, it can be really useful. Now, believe it or not, there's actually a second shortcut for the camera that can also be really quick and in some situations pretty useful as well. Now, this feature actually is activated by default, but in case for some reason it's not activated on your phone, I'm going to show you exactly how to get to it. So once again, what we're going to do is go to Settings. And from here, you're going to want to go to System. Now go to Gestures. And this time, we're going to go all the way to the bottom where it says Quick Capture. Make sure this feature is on. And when it is, you can now activate the camera just by going like this. Now this feature, while being pretty useful in some situations, does take a little getting used to. I personally prefer the power key instead, but definitely try both out and see which one you like better. If you'd rather actually open your camera with a gesture, or if you'd rather double tap the power key instead. Either way, both of the shortcuts are really useful and can be really convenient in some situations. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the aspect ratio of your frame. By default, the aspect ratio is going to be 3:4 on this phone, but if you want to change it, all you need to do is press this arrow right here, and you can choose between 3:4, 9:16, or the entire screen, which in this case is going to be 20:9. This can be really useful if, for example, you need to take a photo in 9:16 or 16:9, maybe for a thumbnail for a video, or if you're posting something on Twitter. Usually the best aspect ratio for Twitter is 16:9. And then of course, if you're doing something on an Instagram story maybe, then 9:16 might work out really well. Now, unfortunately, there's no 1:1 here, and that is a little disappointing because although you can easily post pictures on Instagram that are 3:4, I feel like that platform is still more optimized for 1:1, and it's nice to be able to take the square pictures right from your phone itself instead of having to worry about cropping it later. But unfortunately, this phone only has these 3 aspect ratios. The next thing I'm going to show you is a feature called Tap Anywhere to Capture. This can be really useful if you're holding the phone at an awkward angle. Like for example, the way I'm holding it right now. Now obviously this isn't really an ideal angle for any type of photo, but just hypothetically assume this is the angle I wanted to take the photo at for whatever reason. Sure, I can reach the shutter button, but it's not really that convenient. So with the Tap Anywhere to Capture feature, you can actually take a photo without even touching the shutter button. So let me show you how to activate it. So what you're going to want to do is go up here to the settings, go to Capture Settings. And right here, where it says Tap Anywhere to Capture, you're going to want to toggle this on. So now, back to the previous example, say I want to take a photo at this angle for whatever reason. Instead of having to reach all the way to the shutter button, all I need to do to take a photo is simply tap on the screen and it's going to take the photo. And as you can see, here's the photo at that really weird angle that I feel like no one would ever use in real life, but you get the picture, no pun intended. Overall, the Tap Anywhere to Capture feature can be really useful, but if you're taking photos normally and you can easily use both hands to reach the shutter button, it can be kind of annoying because say you're trying to focus on something it's going to automatically take the photo instead of focusing first. So I would recommend to only use this feature when you really need it. Unless of course you like it, then that's a different story. You can do whatever you want if it works out for you, but me personally, I would only use this feature if I'm really taking a photo at an awkward angle and I can't simply press the shutter button. The next thing I'm going to show you is actually for video mode. So this phone can shoot videos in up to 1080p, and for what it is, it actually has surprisingly decent video quality. So I'm going to show you a way to make your videos a little bit smoother. So if you're taking B-roll or something like that, you want to get some scenery shots, whatever the case may be, you can get things a little bit smoother. So what you're going to want to do is go up to the settings one more time, go to videos, and right here where it says stabilization, you're going to want to toggle this on. With stabilization on, your videos are going to be a lot smoother, so if the camera wiggles a little bit, the stabilization is going to help make up for this, so the videos come out a little bit smoother. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the macro camera. Now this is actually a really easy thing to do. All you need to do to open the macro camera is simply press this little flower icon right here, and it's going to turn on. Now, say I wanted to get a really close-up detailed photo of this quarter. All I need to do is simply use the macro camera, get it within the proper range, and there we go. As you can see, the photo is real close up, detailed, and for what it is, it does look pretty good. Now, one important thing I want to remind you is that when you're done using the macro camera, be sure to go back to regular mode by pressing the one icon right here. Because if you don't, it's going to stay in macro mode, and then when you try to take a normal photo, it's going to be all blurry. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the grid lines. When you're trying to center a photo, grid lines can be really useful. To activate them, all you need to do is go up here to settings, go to capture settings, and toggle on the assistive grid. Now if we go back to the frame, you're going to see the grid lines are activated. This can be really useful if you're trying to take a nice photo and you want to make sure something is actually in the center. Now another thing in the capture settings that can be really useful is the leveler. While the assistive grid helps you center things, the leveler, as the name implies, helps you make sure things are level. So we're going to turn this on now, and when we go back to the frame, you're going to see the leveler right here, and as you can see, it's going to help us make sure things are lined up. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to mute the shutter sound. Now so far in this video, you probably haven't heard this phone make a shutter sound, and that's actually just because my phone is in mute right now, but I'm going to take it off mute. And then if we go back to the actual camera and take a photo, you're going to hear the shutter. Now this can get a little annoying, especially if you're taking lots of photos. So to turn it off, you're going to go up here to the settings, go to capture settings, and the shutter is on by default. All you need to do, of course, is toggle this off. Then if we go back to the frame, it's not going to make a sound anymore. Again, you can also silence it just by putting your phone in mute, but then don't forget, once you take your phone off mute, unless you have the shutter sound turned off in the camera app itself, like I just showed you, it's going to start making sound again. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the timer. This can be real useful if you're trying to take a photo of yourself with the rear camera or any other situation where you want things to be more hands-free. So the timer is real easy to use. All you need to do is go to this little icon right here, press this, and as you can see, it says 3 now. You can press it again, and it's going to go to 10, and if you press it one more time, it's going to turn back off. So for this example, we're going to do 3, and if I press the shutter, it's going to count down from 3 before actually taking the photo. And there we go. But keep in mind that this is not going to turn off by itself, so when you're done using the timer, be sure to cycle through its options and turn it off one more time. Otherwise, it's going to keep counting down, and that can be real annoying when you don't want to use it. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to customize this bottom bar down here. This is going to give you quick access to other modes you might want to use, like for example, portrait mode. If you use that a lot, you might want to add it to this bar. So all you need to do this is hit these 3 bars right here and simply press and hold whatever you want to add to the bar. So for example, portrait mode, and drag it right down here. And that's pretty much it. Now, as you can see, portrait mode is in the bottom bar, so you can easily access it whenever you want to use it. If you ever want to change your bar back to how it was or remove something, you can do the same thing to anything that's down here except the photo and video. By default, those are going to be there, and you can't change that. But those were my camera tips and tricks for the Motorola Moto G Power 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.